Are you tired of self-doubt holding you back? Have you ever wished you could have the confidence to face your fears, go after your wildest dreams, and the tools necessary to live your best life? Hey there, amazing listeners. I'm your host and author of How to Grasp Confidence and Own Your Power. And I've made it my mission to help you break free from self-doubt and embrace confidence. Subscribe now and join us as we unlock the secrets to unshakable self-assurance. Let's dive in. Sherry stepped into the world as a leader, first in sports, where she attained the highest level possible in athletics, the Olympic Games. She then led a college basketball program for 23 years, where she won a national championship and took her teams to 3 Elite Eights. Since 2012, as CEO of the Winning Leadership Company, she has delivered over 3,700 hours of leadership programs where she has developed Olympic-level leaders. Sherry has spoken to audiences as large as 14,000 and has spoken for companies such as Dell, McDonald's, and Adobe. She has spoken in Gillette Stadium, airplane hangars, basketball diamonds, and too many hotel convention centers to mention. Organizations such as the Volunteers of America, Anytime Fitness, Edward Jones, and a host of multi-million and billion-dollar companies invest in Sherry's teachings each year. I am so honored to have my next guest on the show to talk about the Olympic mindset. Sherry, welcome to the program.
Hey, Tara, thank you so much. This is going to be fun. I can't wait. Let's do it.
Oh, I know. It's so exciting. Not too often do I interview somebody with your level of experience and expertise that you've gotten to this pinnacle, this Olympic level. It's truly extraordinary. So I want to go ahead and highlight that because really, this is a level that not many even aspire to. They think it's for other people. Maybe we watch the games on TV, we get excited about it, and it doesn't occur to us that we could potentially, reach that level one day, right? So I would love to hear a little bit of backstory because I know you just didn't land in the Olympics. I'm sure there was a lot that went on before then. But I would love to hear what got you interested in this and how did you get to that level?
Well, I think you just talked about like the mindset. And so I was really lucky because at the age of 7, I was sitting in the back of the house. I heard all this commotion going on in the living room. I sprinted to see what was going on. And there are my parents sitting on a green bottle couch and my grandparents sitting in an easy chair. And our black and white television was tuned to the 1968 Olympic Games in Mexico. My parents and grandparents are screaming, USA, USA. I look at my parents, I look at my grandparents. I'm like, I'm going to do that. So, look, I was so young. I didn't know how hard it was to be an Olympian. I had in fact, at that time, women didn't even play. Like they didn't play in some of the sports in the Olympics. And so the sport I was currently in, which was basketball, they did not play basketball yet in the Olympics. And the sport I eventually played in, which is team handball, they did not have women yet in the Olympics in that. But I didn't know any of that. And so the great thing was, as a young kid, I just went around going, I'm going to be an Olympian. I'm going to, just so naive. Also, though, with the exact conviction I needed to make that happen. So what happens to most of us is that we don't have the conviction of our words. We hope, we don't, and we desire and we want, but we don't believe. And there's a big gap between hoping and believing.
Wow, right there. So let's unpack that a little bit because you saw this, you got excited at the age of 7, and you said, I'm going to do that. Right there, many of us stop, right? We we may say we want to do something and then immediately, like within just a few seconds, talk ourselves out of it. Or hear someone else's limiting belief and says, you won't be able to do that. Don't even try.
Right.
Now, an Olympic mindset is different. It's kind of like an ironclad cage, I would imagine, right? Not only for the outside forces that we would hear for limiting beliefs on others, but also for ourselves and our self-talk. So could you talk a little bit about that, Sherry? Because
Absolutely.
in order for us to get to that next level, we need to have that mindset, right?
Well, again, I was so young, I didn't know better. And so that's a great place to be, is not knowing better. Because if anybody would have told me that, look, it's easier to get struck by lightning than to be an Olympian, I'd probably be like, oh, forget it. Like, it's too hard. But that's not where I started from. I just started from this, young age, and where kids are like, parents and adults are saying, well, that's so nice. That's great. Good for you. Nobody tells you, oh no, like that's going to be too hard. Nobody does that to you when you're young. Right. And so I was really lucky that I started with this mindset, and then I started working out. Like, you probably wouldn't remember, but there was a guy named Jack LaLanne. He was a fitness guru in 1960s. So there I was in the morning, turn on a Jack LaLanne at 7 a.m. and me and Jack were working out. So I was like, I'm working out for the Olympics. I'm going to be an Olympian. So right then I'd already made a commitment, and I really was committed. I mean, I started training as best I knew how at the age of 7, right? I was doing sit-ups and push-ups and, with Jack LaLanne. And so I thought that was working out, which was what it was. So I never stopped. I mean, I just kept believing that was my pathway. That was my journey. So if you are passionate, this is the thing. You have to be passionate about what you want. You can't just go, like I kind of like to do it. It's got to be passionate, because when you're passionate, you'll take the action for it. Right. And so I was passionate about it, and I started training. I mean, I used to go to the gym when I was in junior high before school started, when I was in high school before school started. I would stay at the gym after practices were over. I just never stopped dreaming and believing. I mean, it wasn't just the dreaming. It was that passion to do it. I loved what I was doing. I loved working out. So a lot of people don't love, I loved working out, loved it. It was so much fun for me. So that's part of it, is the passion. You have to align with your passion, because if you're not passionate about it, you're not going to do it. You also have to believe. Like, I had this unwavering belief that it was going to happen. So I didn't take everything that happened between the moment I said I was going to be an Olympian and when I got there at age 23. So that's a long time to, have that belief system. When things got in the way, I kept thinking, well, I'm supposed to do this. It wasn't like, oh no, like fate said, or it's just not going to work. I just thought, I'm supposed to do this. So when things got in the way, and they will, there's not going to be a straight pathway to something that you want. When challenges came, I still had this deep, committed belief system that says you're supposed to do this.
Wow, that's pretty powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so easy to get distracted, derailed. Our lives change, and our plans and dreams and aspirations go right along with it. But if you feel a sense of purpose, and this is what I tell clients that I work with as well, if you feel a deep sense of purpose, it doesn't really matter what gets in the way. It's, you have that vision that really holds you and anchors you to that, greater thing. So I would like to kind of go into that a little bit too, because a lot of people have hardships and traumas and adversities and stumbling blocks that, happen in our lives. But as an Olympian, what do you do when something comes in your way, and how do you surpass it?
Well, I think that the whole thing that you said, a lot of people, and I want to go back to that, because not a lot of people, it's everybody. Nobody escapes challenges. It is the human experience. So we start off understanding that, look, when a challenge comes your way, it's not about you. It's not against you. It's not something to stop you. It is the pathway of being human. We don't think that way. We're like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. It's horrible. This thing just, no, it's not. It's just the pathway. It is what's going to happen in our experience. And so if we understand what's going to happen, it doesn't matter what happens to you. What matters is what you do with what happens. So that's part of that whole thing, is understanding every single individual, not just one challenge. We're going to have multiple challenges in our pathway between whatever we want and where we are now. Every single person. That is the process. And so if we understand that, it's not against me. It's not fate for me to stop. It's not a sign. It's just the human experience. So what do I do with that? Am I going to move? Is that experience, that challenge going to move me forward, or is it going to stop me? That's always a choice. So when people say to me, I would have been an Olympian, except, I'm like, oh, no. There's no exception. If you would have been, you would have been. And they look at me like, oh, you were born at the right time, at the right place, with the right parents. You had this golden road to. No, it didn't happen that way at all. At all. It was just fraught with all kinds of challenges from the age of 7 to the age of 23, and then again at the age of 28. So we have to understand that we have the ability to reframe the experience that we're having and to see it in a more positive light and to use it instead of let it drown us or destroy us.
Ooh, so powerful. It is. Mindset is everything, Sherry. It really is. I'm a huge, huge advocate and believer in it. Because I didn't always have a great mindset. And I remember what my life looked like before I developed a really winner's mindset. And I was a complainer. I was a victim. Things always got in my way. Everything happened to me, right? And it was when I started to really shift and change and grow my mindset that all of a sudden those obstacles that I thought were obstacles in my life were actually lessons and opportunities for growth. And if I didn't have those obstacles, I wouldn't have been refined to do greater and bigger things.
Absolutely.
And, this mindset we're talking about, I call it my ninja moves mindset, right? Mm-hmm. I can look at almost any situation now and find the gratitude in it and find the area of growth in almost anything. Absolutely. Even if I don't close a deal, let's say in business, I say, oh, thank God, because that means that there's something even greater for me coming along, right?
Right.
You find the growth and the gratitude in life through this mindset, and what can't you accomplish, really?
Well, exactly. And I love that you said, Tara, that you taught yourself, like you learned it. Because I think that people think that we all we ride with this thing. I was like you. The same things that you just talked about, like the victim mentality. Oh, yeah. Everything happened to me. It was terrible. It was horrible. Blamed everybody else in the world for where I was. That victim mindset. Depressed, angry, all those things. And it is something that you can learn. Not everybody's born with it. Maybe there are a few. I don't know. I've never met one. But maybe there are somebody that come to this earth and like, boom, we got it all. Choo-choo. But for us, for the most of us, we have to learn it. And so people go, where do you learn it? Well, geez, like you said, you coach clients. I do too. We coach clients to help them learn it. There's books everywhere you can learn from. There are podcasts like this one. There are so many opportunities to learn now. The challenge is for people, it's just like anything else. You have to practice the mindset. So when those thoughts come in, and they will, that's, again, it's normal. It's normal and natural for those thoughts to come in. What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with the thought when it comes? Are you going to pay attention to it? Are you going to create bigger narrative around it? Are you going to sit in it for a while, sauna in it? What are you going to do with it? Or are you going to say, oh, that's interesting. Yeah. And let me tell you about this. You're not going to fight it, because we don't want to fight anything you resist persists, right? So you don't want to fight something. No, don't think about it. It's like if you're on a diet and you go, I don't want to eat that piece of cake. I can't have that piece of cake. I can't get that cake away from me. There's no way I can eat that. Well, you're going to go eat it. There's no possibility once you start fighting it that you're going to not, So it's really about what do I do with that thought it comes in. What do I do with it? Well, you can change the thought. You can and it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be a wide whole thing of swerving off, and going in. It just is a little bitty thought. You just go, oh, that's interesting. And you just say something different, like what's closer to your goal. You don't do Look, if I want to be an Olympian and I'm not even yet, I'm able to say I'm an All-American. If I haven't gotten to that place and I'm struggling with my shot going down or something, I'm not going to say, oh, I'm an Olympian, because it seems too far. The gap is way too far. And you can't say that inside. You're like, well, that's BS. That's not true. But if you say things like, I'm a really hard worker, I always get through things, I know that I'll figure out a way there. I know that when I work hard, things occur for me. I understand who I am. I know that I have the greatest level of commitment that I've ever met in any human being. You say things like that you know are true. Now you're shifting. But if you try to reach for something that's too far, you can't shift it because internally you don't believe it.
That is powerful. Internally, you don't believe it. Wow. So how would someone go from, let's say they're struggling. Maybe they're suffering from depression, right? And we know there's studies out there. The World Health Organization has said that depression is the leading cause of disability worldwide. It's happening to a lot of people, right? People are depressed. They're anxious. Right now, there's a lot of uncertainty. People are wondering, about their business, about getting a promotion at work, about their families. What level could we do as a human being to just get to that next level where we maybe just start believing in ourselves? Sherry, what do you think?
Well, for me, it's number one, you have to be mindful. We don't know what we tell ourselves. I mean, only 15% of the population is self-aware. So that means only 15% of the population ask questions like, why did I say that? Why do I feel this way? Why did that trigger me? Most people would just go, oh, it's terrible. And that's the end of their whole self-awareness piece. So it's being mindful. So a thought comes in and you're like, wow, that's an interesting thought. Like you're aware of the thoughts that you have. That's number one, because so many people don't even know the thoughts that they're thinking. They have no idea. So they have no idea the number of times they tell themselves a story. Well, you can't tell yourself a story 1,000 times and expect a different result. Remember, that's the definition of insanity. You can't do that. But so many people do because they're not aware of the thoughts that they have. So it's just the mindfulness of, wow, it's a curiosity, not a judgment about the thought, right? So that's the difference. We can't be, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm thinking this again. No. So that's interesting. I'm thinking this. That's interesting. And you have to realize what you're telling yourself, because we tell ourselves the most horrible, horrendous, just terrible things. So it's that mindfulness of recognizing what's coming in. And so when you get mindful of it, that's the first step. And if all you do is get mindful, that's a huge step, because now you're recognizing the things you're telling yourself. And you're also recognizing, if I tell myself this story 1,000 times and I expect a different result, it's not going to happen. It can't happen because you believe in your own narrative, right? We believe in the narrative that we tell ourselves. And so our perceptions are reality. You have to learn there. So it's that immediate learning of just starting to be mindful. That's a good step for people. And then not judging it, because here's what we do. We judge it, and then we judge our judgment, and then we're really deep in the doo-doo, right? We're just so far deep that we're buried ourselves. But that's really that start. And if you can't do that, I mean, if you're in a space that this mind thing is way too hard, I would suggest something easier. Start eating differently. Eat better food, right? Start exercising. That's going to help you. Get out and get in the sunshine. If you can't get in the sunshine, take vitamin D. I mean, there's other things that can help you before you get, because this is a bigger game, right? This is a bigger game. This is bigger than just exercising. I'm not saying exercising is just, it's bigger than exercising. It's bigger than getting in the refrigerator, eating something different. It is really learning who you are. It's learning what you do to yourself, and quit getting mad at other people who say something to you because you're agreeing with it or it wouldn't hurt you. So stop it. Like, just get in this mindset of learning, get in the mindset of, and one of the ways to do that, what I did for 19 years, Tara, is I had a journal. It really saved my life. I mean, I journaled every single day for 19 years, and I was reading the stuff I was writing like, oh my gosh, like I'm saying that, like I'm doing this. And it was an eye opener, because that's when I started getting self-aware.
Wow. So you taught me a couple of things just now, but I didn't realize that only 15% of the population is self-aware. I'm shocked, but not at the same time, right? Because once you said it, I was like, only 15. And then I said, wait, 15? It sounds like it could be less.
Exactly.
We're really suffering from a lack of self-awareness, aren't we?
Absolutely.
And it almost feels like, a record player that keeps going and going and going and going. It's this narrative that we tell ourselves on repeat. And it's these limiting beliefs that we have. It's this really negative self-talk. We wouldn't talk that way to anybody else. And this is how we talk to ourselves.
Yeah.
It's really scary. And then it causes that record player to play again nonstop. And we wonder why nothing changes. And part of that is we don't have those pattern interrupters. So, you brought up a really good point, and that was part of my journey. When I was really depressed at my lowest point a couple years ago, one of the first steps I did, I worked on myself. That was number one, because I realized I was in control of my environment. I just didn't know exactly what to do. So I just did healthy things. So I stopped watching the news. I stopped. Yes.
Don't do it. It's negative.
Don't do it. Stop watching the news. I cleaned up my diet, took out all refined sugars, carbohydrates, things that were really not making my mood stable, right? Gave up alcohol for like 6 or 8 weeks and just started this journey of clearing my mind and body at the same time. And oh my gosh, it was a short period of time. We're talking a couple weeks, 8 weeks, but those steady improvements every single day completely changed my life.
Absolutely. Well, but what you have to do is like, you have to input things into your brain. You have to input the good stuff, right? So to change a thought, which is, a belief is just a thought you keep thinking. So then we think the thought, and now it's a belief. Now we got this big old thing that, like you said, the record player, we've got to believe. Well, the only way to really start changing that is you have to convince yourself of the things we've been talking about, Tara. So, for you and I, we're like, we understand that thoughts are things, and that most people don't think their thoughts, or thoughts think them, and that emotions, usually people let their emotions run them. They don't run their emotions. We understand all that. And we understand these limiting beliefs and how they affect us. But many people don't get that. They don't even understand what I just said. So they're like, whoa. So you have to then put things in your brain consistently that's going to teach you new things so you can have new beliefs. So that means reading material that's going to help you understand that. It means what I do with all my clients when I have a coaching call with a client, at the end of the call, I always send them what I call winning success steps. That's their homework. I don't call it homework. Nobody wants to do that. But winning success steps that makes them self-reflect, right? And they have to turn those in before our next conversation. To do self-reflection things, continue, like listen to podcasts like yours, to keep inputting this stuff until your brain starts believing it's true. Like you can't just go, oh yeah, this sounds really cool, but you have to understand this is real. Like you have to go back and if you're a science person, go look at the science, right? You've got to listen to these things. You got to read these things. You got to keep doing it over and over again until you believe. You have to get to the belief of what we're saying before you can even start working on it. So that's probably the first step, is like really start inputting these things that help you understand the belief. That's what I did. I mean, I started reading like voraciously books and books and books and books. And so back when I started doing it, there was no podcast. There was none of this stuff that we have today. So there wasn't audible books. I just had to read. But it was the part of reading that I was like, wow. And then I read another book and I go, wow. And then another book. And it's just like they just built on one another until that belief system started changing about what we're talking about with the world, right? You get to look at the world. Is it good? Well, if you believe everything works for your own highest good, then it's easier to get out of adversity. If you don't believe that, you got to work on that belief. So, it's really about this inputting of good, solid information into your brain day after day after day after day after day. And even now, I have a habit of doing that first thing in the morning because we're so inundated with the negative. So it's teaching yourself to even believe what we're talking about. You got to believe this. How are you going to believe it? Read about it. get that information in your brain until it's like, well, yeah, it's logical. It seems real. This is the way I got to go. And that's one of the things I do with my clients is, we're going to meditate. I'm going to teach them to meditate. We're going to do winning success steps. So that's self-reflection. They're going to do listen. Like I'll give them people to listen to. I'm like, listen to this person over and over and over and over and over and over and over, different, just input it, because you can't do it without that awareness, that knowledge. It's got to have a knowledge base before you can start, doing all this stuff we're talking about. Like we're talking about, it's just like easy. It requires some effort and it's worth it.
It's so worth it. And this could really change your life. And I love what you said about, when you come across an adversity in your life, we'll call it an adversity, because I do believe that we have things that come into our life. But again, it's viewing it as our greatest and highest good. What about any situation, can we look back and say, find the good in it, find the gratitude, find the growth? Mm-hmm. When you can do that, it really takes you from that limited perspective to a really expansive one. It gives you that kind of 10,000 foot view.
Yeah.
To say on any situation, you know what, this happened, and here's how I grew from it. And even better, here's how I can help someone else going through the same situation. Because I do believe a part of all of our purpose is to raise the collective, to help others, right? With whatever passion and purpose that you have in life, apply that to yourselves, and then whatever you do, amplify it out and help someone else. Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's part of our purpose in life. I do believe that when you, we have to remember that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, right? And so when you're at that space of being the teacher, like you learn enough, that your students are going to show up. They're just going to show up for you. And your purpose is to share the material that you've learned to help this world, right? We're to bring light to this world, to bring love to this world, to bring understanding to this world, to bring kindness to the world, to be compassion to the world. That's what people, once you understand this, there's a calling, I think, for all of us who've done the work to really do exactly what you're saying. And that could be through, it could be that like you coach and you speak, I coach and speak. It could be through, just friends, just having conversation with friends. And not pushing it, but just opening up the possibility for people to walk through the door.
Yes. There's nothing more gratifying than watching somebody go from that low place to a place of unlimited possibilities. It's one of the greatest joys that I have is seeing people 10x their goals and realize that, they were thinking small before, right? And to have them go after really big goals and dreams after even just a few sessions, it makes me so happy and it fuels my purpose. It's like lighting the fire on it. And then I want to help more people. I'm sure you relate to that, right?
Yeah, well, it's a great joy. It's a great joy to give. There's incredible joy in giving. And so when you're standing when you're standing on stage and you're speaking in front of 14,000 people and you walk out and you have 2,000 people follow you because they want to talk to you, because they want to find out more. That's when you know that you're helping people. That's when you know you're making a difference. And that giving, regardless of whether they get paid or not, but I do want to be paid. Regardless of whether they get paid, there's still this oh my gosh, I'm making a difference in the world. I have a purpose in the world. I'm doing something that's good for the world. There is that thing that fulfills you. And I think that goes back to passion, right? And it doesn't matter if people do what you and I do. If they do something else that's passionate, it's still supporting. It's still supporting others.
Yeah, always. I love that. So this Olympic level mindset, I love your story. I love the 7-year-old girl who watched the Olympics for the first time on TV and said, that's what I'm going to do. That's who I'm going to be. And then your journey from everything to that point to where you are now is nothing but remarkable. You talk a lot about looking or reading other books and listening to other books, but you've also written so many books. I was looking on your website. I lost track of how many books.
Is it I'm writing another one. I'm writing another one right now, but thank you. I think, when you write something, you learn it better, right? And so if you can teach it, you know it. That's the thing. If you can teach it, you know it. So if you write something, and what I do is I interview over 200 leaders. This is how I do my research. So I get to talk to these amazing people all day. That's what I do. I get to talk to these incredible people, Tara, that are just amazing. And I get to hear their stories. I get to hear what they do. And I'm like, oh, that's wonderful. And then I get to put that in a book. And so I'm learning all the time. I mean, people always go, how do you learn? I'm like, well, I'm learning all day, every day, talking to people. They're sharing information with me. And, when I started this project, I did my first book when I interviewed people. I did it from the space of there's so many bad leaders out there. We need, better leaders. And then I met all these wonderful people. Like, oh my gosh, there's so many wonderful people out there. Like it totally turned my belief system into there's so many wonderful leaders out there who are doing the right thing, who are understanding that how they lead is impactful not only to their team members, but to that team member's family, which turns into the community. I mean, that multiplier effect is amazing. And that's what a leader can do. I mean, a leader has the capacity to multiply the lessons they've learned, tenfold, like you said. I mean, just really being able to give that out there. So yeah, the last book I wrote was called Winning Leadership, 7 Secrets to Being a Truly Powerful Leader. And the next book is about winning business secrets. And then I'm following that one up, the one about resilience. And I'm just, like I said, I'm so thrilled that I get to learn all day from these marvelous, and I can't even, I want to underline that word, marvelous people who are out there doing the right thing.
Wow. That's what it's all about. Well, thank you for being this beacon of light in this world, this shining example of what a, winning mindset is, what winning leadership looks like, what ownership looks like, because, this is kind of the root of the conversation is that ownership. It's that responsibility to others, but also yourself. Listen, everybody, if you have a big goal, a big dream, that is great. Go after it, right? And the best way is little steps at a time, incrementally. It's really easy to look at a big dream and say, that's for other people, or I can't do that. Nobody in my family's ever done that. None of my friends have ever done that. I'll never be able to do that. But it takes an owner. It takes somebody with a lot of responsibility for self to say, you know what? If I maybe cleaned up my diet, and we'll start there, maybe exercised a little bit more, maybe read some more books, maybe got a mentor. Mm-hmm. You start small and then you build yourself up, and then you do that for a couple months. All of a sudden, that really big goal may not be big enough, because that's happened to me before. And it's happened to clients that I know of, that they have this really big goal. At first, they think it's not, that it's out of their league. And then all of a sudden, it's actually not big enough, right? So this can happen pretty quick if you put your mind to it, you act with responsibility. And honestly, it's adopting that mindset of a champion, like Sherry's talking about. It's a champion mindset. And it's a matter of shaking out those limited self-beliefs that were holding you back this whole time, and adopting new beliefs that you can do something. That's so powerful. Sherry, where can people find you? Because I know, your words are so resonating and powerful. I want people to book you for stages. I want them to buy your books and all of your programs. What is the best way to get a hold of you?
So the best way to find me is at www.thewinningleadershipcompany.com. That's the best way to find me. So if you go to that, you can contact me. I always love to offer people something. And this is what's so crazy, Tara. I do this all the time, and people never take me up on it. So if you would like to have a free 45-minute discovery call where we go through and find some of your limiting beliefs, get you started on eradicating those with new beliefs so that you can reach your dreams, I'm happy to do that for you. I'm happy to give you a free 45-minute discovery call. All you have to do in return is rant and rave about me. That's all you got to do. You don't have to do anything else. But if you want to, you just go to my website and you just say, hey, I'd like to have that call. I saw you on this podcast, and I'm happy to do that for you. Like I said, I do this all the time on podcasts, and believe it or not, not one person has yet taken me up on it. So maybe there's a person out there today who would love to take me up on that. And I'm happy, literally, I'm happy to help you.
That you can't get a better offer out there. This is the chance. We're approaching 2025 right now, and New Year's resolutions are here. People are saying, I'm tired of playing small. This is your chance to have an Olympian appointment with an Olympian, a 2-time Olympian, I'll say that, and multi-author, to be coached for 45 minutes. That's an incredible offer. Hey, if nobody else signs up for it, I'm going to sign up for it. I don't get you anyway, though. I don't need an appointment for that.
We don't have a great conversation because both of us have gone through this process. We've both seen what it can do for ourselves. We've both had that experience. And so I think that's the big thing, is that you and I both know from the point of, desperation, of, depression. I mean, I was depressed, to optimism, to seeing, the beauty in every day. And people will often say, but, how can you do that? I'm like, it's a choice. It's just a choice. How you want to view the world.
It's a choice on how you want to view the world. I love that. Well, Sherry, this was a fantastic interview and episode. Thank you so much for being a guest. And thank you for everyone who tuned in to this episode of Grasp Confidence Podcast. Guys, don't forget, share this episode with your network, your friends, people that can benefit from increased levels of mindset and confidence. And also, don't forget to leave a review. That is the best thing. When we get reviews in, I read them all personally and love each and every single one. So please leave a review, share this with your networks, and we will see you on the next episode. Take care. And that's a wrap for this episode of Grasp Confidence. Thank you for joining me today and investing in yourself. Remember, building confidence is an ongoing journey, and each step you take brings you closer to the empowered, fearless version of yourself that you were born to be. Don't forget to visit my website, follow me on social media, and purchase my book, which is available on Amazon. Thank you for listening. We will see you on the next episode. Stay confident.